Hello, good morning, dear students. So, today we are starting with the next chapter, the seventh chapter. The name of the chapter is Packing. So, the whole story is about the packing and what are the effective ways to do the packing. Fine. So, let us just start with the chapter. I said I would pack. I rather pride myself on my packing. Packing is one of those many things that I feel I know more about than any other person living. It surprises me myself sometimes how many such things are there. I am impressed the fact upon George and Harris and told them that they had better leave for the whole matter entirely to me. So the writer is saying that he would pack for the packing, and he is having pride on myself means to have a pride on, to be proud of himself. So he is saying that he is very much proud on himself, that he already knows that how effectively he can pack the bag. So he is just impressed, and he is trying to say to George and Harris that whatever the work they are having and whatever the things they are having for packing, they were just wholly dependent on the writer for the packing. They fell into the suggestion with a readiness that he had something uncanny about it. George spread himself over the easy chair and Harris cocked his legs on the table. So when the writer said that George and Harris can entirely, I should say, depend on the writer, what they did, they just went in the lethargic way, and George himself was lying on an easy chair, and Harris just cocked his legs and he was sitting on the table. This was hardly what I intended. What I had meant, of course, was that I should be the boss of the job. So he is saying that I did not pretend that they won't even help me for my packing. But he was thinking that he is the boss of this job, because the writer was thinking that he already knew that what are the effective ways for doing the packing, and that Harris and George should potter about under many directions. I pushing them aside every now and then with, "Oh, you, here, let me do it." There are you, simple enough, really teaching them. As you might say, they are taking it in the way they had irritated me. There is nothing does irritate me more than seeing the other people sitting about and doing nothing when I am working. So the writer is saying that it just felt irritated for me when I saw that the Harris and George and other people were just sitting and doing nothing when the writer was busy doing his packing. I lived with a man once who used to make me mad that way. So he is just informing, or he is just trying to say something, that once he used to live with a man who was just crazy about all this things. He would loll on the sofa and watch me doing things by the hour together. He said it did him real good, and look at me messing about. So he is saying that he was also had a company of a man who just used to look at him when the writer was busy doing his packing. That man did not even have that much courtesy to help the writer. Now I am not like that. I can't still see another man slaving and working. So he is saying that no, now I am not in that condition. I can easily say to them that you can come and please help me. I want to get up and superintendent and walk around with my hands in my pockets and tell him what to do. It is my energetic nature. I can't help it. So initially the writer was thinking that he would just I should say he would just pack all the things by his own. But when he saw that George Harris and other members of the family were just doing nothing, he just said to them that what he will do, he will just move like a boss, keeping his hands in the pocket, and will inform to other people that how they will pack the bags. However, I did not say anything but started the packing. It seemed a longer job than I had thought it was going to be, but I got the bag finished at last and set it on it and strapped it. So, however, he did not say anything to anyone. He just started doing the packing. No doubt it seemed a longer job, and it was very much long period of time for the writer. And he just got some more time to pack, and after all, finally he just finished the packing. "Ain't you going to put the boots in?" said Harris, and I looked around and found that I had forgotten them. So Harris afterwards, when the whole packing was done, Harris is saying to the writer that why didn't you kept your boots means shoes inside the bag? So he was just looking and said that no, I have forgotten to keep that boots. I opened the bag and packed the boots in it, and then just I was going to close it, a horrible idea occurred to me. I packed my toothbrush. I don't know how it is, but I never knew whether I have packed my toothbrush. So the moment he was trying to close the bag and he was trying to see that he had just kept the shoes inside the bag, and immediately a thought struck into his mind that had he kept his toothbrush, so what he is doing to see that whether he had kept the toothbrush or not, he is again opening the bag. My toothbrush is a thing that haunts me when I am traveling. Haunts means to have repeatedly give trouble to everyone. Like a misery, I dream that I haven't packed it and wake up in a cold perspiration and get out of the bed and hunt for it. And in the morning, I pack it before I have used it and also have unpack again to get it. It is always the last thing I turn out of the bag and then I repack and forget it. And I have to rush upstairs for it at the last moment and carry it to the railway station wrapped in the pocket handkerchief. So he is saying that toothbrush is such a thing for me that will create a trouble repeatedly for me, and usually every time when I am going for the packing, I would forget that whether I had kept my toothbrush in the bag or not. So what he is saying that every now and then when he is going for the traveling, he will just face the same problem, and at the last he will remember that no, he did not take his toothbrush with him. So what he will do, he will just run upstairs and take the toothbrush along with him in a wrapped handkerchief. Of course, I had to turn every mortal thing out now, and of course, I could not find it. So, what he is doing when he came to know that whether he had packed his toothbrush or not, what he did, he just took everything out of the bag, and after all, finally, he found that he did not kept his toothbrush. I rummaged the things up into such much the same state as that. So he just searched and hurried in a careless way, and finally he found that he did not kept his toothbrush. It must have been before the world was created when the chaos designed. So the chaos was already created over there that he did forget. He had already forgotten to keep his toothbrush. Of course, I found George and Harris 18 times over, but I couldn't find my own. So he is saying that almost for 18 times I had observed that the toothbrush of George and Harris were already kept into the bag, but he did not find his own toothbrush. I put the things back one by one and held everything up and shook it. Then I found it inside a boot and repacked once more. So he just found everywhere, and finally he saw that he had kept the toothbrush into the boot. So he just repacked the whole bag once again. When I had finished, George asked if the soap was in. I said I didn't care the hang whether the soap was in or whether it wasn't, and I slammed the bag shut and strapped it, and found that I had packed my spectacles in it and had to reopen it again. I got shut up finally at 10:05 p.m. and then there remained hampers to do. So after that, George is saying to writer that had he kept the soap into the bag or not. So he is saying that I didn't remember whether I had kept the soap into the bag or not. But finally he remembered at once that he had already packed his spectacles into the bag. So again he is reopening the bag, and finally he packed the bag again at 10:05. Harris said that we should be wanting to start in less than 12 hours time, and thought that he and George had better to do the rest, and I agreed to sit down and they had to go. So he is saying that it almost took 12 hours time, minimum 12 hours time for me to do all these things, and for the whole 12 hours writer was just busy with the packing, and Harris and George had nothing done except doing the rest. To begin, a light-hearted spirit, evidently intending to show me to do it, I made no comment. I waited. With the expectation of George Harrison, the worst packer in the world, I looked at the piles of plates and cups and kettles and bottles of jars and piles and stores and cakes and tomatoes, and felt that the things would soon become exciting. So he is saying that Harris and George would be one of the worst packers in the world, and what they were doing, they did not do anything, but they just collected all these things like piles of plates, cups, kettles, bottles, etc. They started with breaking of a cup, and the way they picked up the bag, everything started breaking into the bag. That was the first thing they did. Had just to show you what they could do and to get you interested. So what they did nothing, but they started damaging all these things. Then Harris packed strawberry jam on the top of the tomato and squashed it, and they took a pick of the tomato with a teaspoon. So what did Harris do? He just packed the strawberry jam at the top of the tomato because the weight of the jam was there. So the tomato gets squashed, and again he used to pick up all the things with a teaspoon. And then it was George's turn, and he poured on the butter. I didn't say anything, but I came over and sat on the edge of the table and watched them. So they just damaged all the things, and Ryder did not say anything to them, but he was just sitting on the corner of the table and watching both of them. It irritated them more than anything I could have said. So the things that George and Harris were doing, that were the only two things that irritated both of them. I felt that it made them nervous and excited, and they stopped on things, but things put things behind them, and they couldn't find them where they wanted them. And they packed the pies at bottom and heavy things at the top and smashed the pies in. So already he had already thought inside his mind that these both men were the worst packer. And what did they do? They just kept the lightweight things at the bottom of the bag and the things with higher weight at the top of the bag. So with the weight of the things that were of high weight, that squashed off the things with lower weight, and everything was broken once again. The upset salt over everything, and as far the butter. I never saw two men and more pants worth of butter in the whole life than they did. After George he got off his slipper, they tried to put off in the kettle. It wouldn't go in, and what was it wouldn't come out. They did scrap it out at last and put it down on the chair, and Harris sat on it and stuck at him. And then they went looking for all over the room. So what did they do? Just kept the butter, the little bit of portion of butter that was remaining, kept it into the kettle, and then they had forgotten that where they had kept, and they were just searching in the whole room. I will take my oath. I put it down on the chair and said, George, staring at the empty seat. So he is saying that I will take my oath that he had kept it down the chair. I saw you did myself not a minute ago, said Harris. So he is saying that just a minute ago we had kept somewhere, but we had forgotten. They had started round the room again looking for it, and then they met again at the center and stared at one another. They were just looking in the whole room that where they had kept the bottle of butter, but they did not find anywhere. Most extraordinary thing I had ever heard was, said George. So mysterious, said Harris. Then George got round at the back of Harris and saw it. Why, here it's all time, he exclaimed indignantly. Where? Cried Harris, spinning round. Stand still, can't you? Roared George, flying after him. And they got it off and packed it in the teapot. So what did they do? After all, at the last, they found it that where they had kept, and they just wrapped it in the teapot. Montmorency was in it still, of course. Montemore's ambition in life was to get in the way and be sworn. If he could squirm in everywhere where they particularly could not want it to be a perfect nuisance and make me mad and have the things thrown on his head, and they feel that this day had not been wasted. So he is saying that Montemorency is a name, and he is saying that whatever they had done, that was one of the worst things, and they were thinking that they had already wasted their whole day in doing all this things. To get somebody stumble over him and course him steadily for an hour is his highest aim and object. To stumble means, I should say, to harass someone, and to walk steadily for an hour and to do this type of things was one of the highest unbearable thing. He just came and sat down on the things just when they wanted to be packed, and labored under the fixed belief that whenever Harris and George reached out to their hand for anything, it was his cold, damp nose that they wanted. He put his leg into the jam and worried the teaspoons and pretended that the lemons were the rats and got hampered and killed three of them. Harris could land him with a flying pan. So what did they do? They just packed all those things, but at the last they observed that everything was totally squashed up. Harris said, I encouraged him. I didn't encourage him. A dog like that doesn't want any encouragement. So he's saying that if a dog would be there, he also don't want any encouragement. It's a natural original sin that it's born in him that he makes to do things like that. So the writer is saying that both the people are having such characteristics that the natural things, it is a sin for them that they will do such type of things. Packing was done at 12:50. Packing was done at 12:50 and Harris sat on the big hamper and said he hoped nothing would be found broken. George said that if anything was broken, it was broken, which reflection seemed to comfort him. He also said that it was ready for the bed. We all were ready for the bed. Harris was to sleep with us that night and we went upstairs. So he is saying that now everything is totally fine and they had packed up everything. Nothing would be broken from it now and they were just trying to sleep. We tossed for beds. Harris had to sleep with me, he said. So they tossed and said that Harris would sleep with him. Do you prefer inside or outside? I said I generally prefer to sleep inside a bed. Harris said it was odd. George said, what time shall I wake you fellows? Harris said 7. No, 6 because I wanted to write some letters. Harris and I had a bit of a row cover. But at last split the difference and said 6:30. We wake up at 6:30, George, we said. George made no answer and we found going over that he had been asleep for some time. So we placed a bath and he could stumble into it and getting out morning and we went to bed ourselves. So initially they thought that they will get up at 7 but everyone said no 6. So they found one way and they said that they will wake up at 6. So they are trying to say to George that we just wake up at 6:30, 6:30. But when they were trying to say to George that wake up at 6:30, they observed that George had already slept. Thank you.